Welcome back everyone to the party that just doesn't end. Hey guys, this is Bill with the Nintendo Super Power Club Challenge channel once again. Today we are looking at a game that has flown under the radar not just with myself but with the general population, and I'm really not sure why, but we'll dig into that a little bit. This is Dragon View on the Super NES, and this is card number 165 in the collection, getting toward the end there. So as I already mentioned, this is a pretty good game, and maybe it's because of the publisher not being very well known, but I gotta say, all the elements of a great game, or an RPG at least, are there. The action-adventure, the RPG, the storytelling, and it takes advantage of Mode 7 graphics, which was a selling point of the Super NES system at the time. So, what's the challenge all about? Why did I hold off on it for so long? Well, let's dive in and take a look. Well, the challenge looks pretty simple on paper at least, so that's nice. The challenge is asking us how far can you get with your first man, basically meaning how far can you get without dying. On Pro level, we have to complete 3 levels. Now, to clear up any ambiguity or confusion here, when they talk about levels, they're referring to the dungeons. So basically, when you go through a dungeon and you kill the final boss within that dungeon, you have completed a level and you can mark that off of the challenge listing. So there you go. So now that that's out of the way, what makes the challenge so difficult here? Honestly, not much. Once you learn the basic concepts and controls of the game and how to move around and level up, that's the toughest part. If you can level up appropriately and do grinding where necessary, the challenge isn't that hard if you know that and how to beat various enemies and different bosses. We're going to cover all of that here, and we're going to do it spread across multiple videos, as this is not a game that we can complete in one fell swoop, sadly, but it is very fun, and I think you will enjoy this as we go through the game and the challenge. Alright, let's get ready to dive into a magical journey on Dragon View for the Super NES. Here we go! Okay, we're off and running with the first part to this very underrated RPG action game here, and as you can see, at the very beginning, we start off at quote-unquote level 1, and I'm not going to go through the entire story and play all the dialogue and cutscenes out because sadly that's not the point of this video here, so anytime we get a massive chunk of text like this, we're just going to skip right past it and get right to the good stuff. Basically, the story is telling you that you are learning how to fight, you've become really good, and you're going out and leveling up your skills here. Now here, we're going into the first major action sequence. This is in a place called Arsenal, and you're really just learning how to use the buttons here. So you can attack, you can jump. It's very much like Zelda 2 or any other side-scrolling button masher, so to speak. So not a whole lot to be concerned with at the early going here. Eventually, you will learn how to use magic, and that's great. And as you can see on the very bottom, you have your health, which is indicated by the reddish-orange, and then the experience. Obviously, as you fill up the experience bar, you become stronger, you can do more damage, and you will take less damage as you get hurt. So that's really the introduction. Now we're going to head back to the town. We're going to skip past all this dialogue here. Basically, your honey bunch gets kidnapped, and you have to go out and rescue her. So, story is what it is. We'll chime back in once we're out of town. Okay, as we come out of that, right before we leave town, I want to take a quick peek here. So there is something you're going to get right here from this lady. We're going to get our first peek at currency. This is Jade. We're going to get 150 Jade, and that can be used for any number of things. You can use it to buy items, potions, weapons eventually. You can also use them to buy life increases. We're going to talk about that very, very shortly. So for the moment, you have 150 Jade, plus anything that you're going to get from killing enemies on the overworld, which we haven't seen yet. So save your Jade, you will want it for later. Now here, this is also important. You're going to come into these little temples here, and these are where you're going to go to save your game and get hints and information on where to go next in case you get lost. Now if you're watching this video, or if you paid any attention to any online strategy guides, you shouldn't ever need to worry about getting lost. But anyway, I digress. So take use of these temples, make use of them, and you will never need to worry about dying. Now, early on, in the early going here, as you can see, we are level 1, level 2 possibly. You absolutely do not want to chance dying because, of course, if you die, the challenge is over. Now, we are heading over to the left, we are leaving the town, and we are on to the overworld right now. And as I said, this game makes use of Mode 7 graphics. And I gotta say, this is a pretty unique, I don't want to say invention, but a unique innovation for its time. I don't think I've ever seen Mode 7 in an RPG for the 16-bit era outside of 7th Saga, and both games do very, very well at it, I've got to say. So here we're headed for the town of Hujia. That's the first town we're going to go for after leaving onto the overworld. And it's very simple to get to. Just stay on the path, and then eventually you're going to veer off to the right. You can't miss it. Now eventually you will be able to fight enemies here on the overworld, so just keep that in mind. That's how we're going to level ourselves up to go to these stronger sections of the game. But for now, we've entered the town of Hujia for the first time, and what we're trying to do is just move forward to the far right side here. You can go off screen. It's a multi-section part of the town. There is a merchant there you can talk to, which will eventually give you a heart container to power yourself up and get stronger, but for right now, ignore that. We don't have enough jade. So go into this building and talk to this man, and he's going to tell you exactly what to do and where to go. In this case, we're going to go to a shop called Tylon's, or Tylon's Bomb Store. Very interesting to have a bomb store in a town of all places. But anyway, go back here. You're going to go to the bomb store. You're going to tell the lady guarding the door that you need to clear the pass. And obviously, that's where you're going to go to hit level 2 and proceed to the intermediate part of this challenge here. Now, to get there, you go in this building after telling her to clear in the pass, talk to him for just a quick second, and he will give you a key to the storeroom. And the storeroom is the next point that we're going to go to because, follow me here, in the storeroom, there is a box of dynamite that Tylon will use to construct bombs to allow you to go over this pass. Still with me? Okay, so that's where we're at. So we're going to go all the way out of town again. We have pretty much everything we need. Yes, there is a shop here. Remember what I said, though. Hold on to your jade. You want to get at least 200 jade before you proceed with actually using anything, because we're going to use it to buy a health container. Now, to get to the storeroom, a couple things you want to do. Before we do that, think back to the start of the game. We had that chest that was missed, right? We're going to go out and get this chest in the Arsenal Cave. Now, here we are encountering our very first random battle, and it's interesting how this works. There are white puffs of smoke or clouds in the overworld here, and they work very similar to how most battles will work in an action-adventure setting, or an RPG for that matter. The fight will come in, you take them down, hopefully you win, stay alive, and you collect all the treasure that comes behind. And you're going to see a lot of that here. I'm going to let a few of these play out so you can see some of the enemy types you'll be up against early on. Really, in the early going, there's only 3 types of enemies. You have those annoying blue beetles that will burrow underground. You'll have blue lizard men who will attack you after hitting them, like a counterattack rush. And then lastly, most dangerously, you're going to have these scorpions that will come after you. In this case, these are the worst ones. You have 2, and these ones are very dangerous because at level 1, they can absolutely kill you outright with only a couple hits, so be very careful. Get very close, hit them, and get out of the way. By the way, now that we're talking about it, I would say that staying on a different plane, north or south of the enemy, is the easiest way to avoid getting countered or hit. So that's the best strategy I can give for really a lot of these games that are side-scroller beat-em-up type action adventures. So with that in mind, you can see we're at level 2. We're actually very close to level 3 right now, and I would advise getting to level 3, if not level 4. Level 3 is probably good enough because we'll get to 4 soon enough. Do a few more random battles here. You can see it's nothing that we can't handle right now. At level 2, you should be just fine. Now we're at 3. There's certainly no reason that we can't survive any of those enemies anymore. So we're going to continue to move forward on this path to this cave. This, of course, is the Arsenal Cave where we first saw the first battle of the game. And if you think way far back, if your memory is really good, there was a green lizard man in here. So we're going to go in. We're going to go in this next door. There will be another green lizard man. He should go down much quicker and easier this time now that we're at level 3. I believe only 2 or 3 shots will be enough to get him. Yep, only 2 did it. Now we're going to move far over to the right back here, and this is where we got caught talking to that annoying hog of a guy. So he's not here anymore, but now we get the Hausa weapon. Now what exactly is the Hausa weapon? Well, I'm going to show you. Obviously right now we're using a sword. The Hausa has higher damage capability, and check this out, it actually acts as a boomerang. Yes, it can go all the way across the screen multiple times. That's kind of nice, right? And for the most part, it's a very good weapon to use, but also keep in mind it is not the end-all be-all of weapons here. We'll show you how it works in action, just to give you a cute little idea. Yeah, so it's definitely worth picking up. You absolutely don't want to forget about it. There will be occasions where you have to fight enemies across a gap or a hole, and that's the only means of being able to hit them, of course. But there will also be occasions, such as the beetle enemy, where they go underground, where you can't really hit them at all. And it's probably better to just get the sword out and whack them. So take that for what you will. It's your choice. I prefer to use the sword more often than not. Alright, now that we've gotten what we need from there, we are going to head for the storehouse cave. And the way that we get there is fairly simple. We're going to go back this way, and instead of heading up, you're going to head down, if that makes any sense. So if I were to pull that map back up, you're going to be heading for the bottom right corner. That's where the storehouse is. If you head for the top right, it's going to take you to the pass, which you cannot go to until you have the bombs and dynamite. And of course, we don't have that yet. Now, unfortunately, I didn't take my own advice. I didn't realize where I was going. I didn't check the map very thoroughly, and I actually headed for the top right. And unfortunately, because of that, it is going to bog and slow the video down just a little bit. But in hindsight, it's actually a good thing because this gives me a chance to level my character up. In all honesty, you do not want to be entering the storehouse until you're at level 4, so we're about half of a level away. This is not a terrible thing, but obviously I don't want you guys to have to sit through and watch a whole bunch of random encounters with enemies that you've already seen before. So take this for what you will. I'm just going to continue these random encounters. I'm going to go back to the town of Hujia to refill my life bar. That is critical. Remember to always stay on top of your life. So we're just going to continue to do that until we're all set, and then we will see you when we're ready to go to the storehouse. Okay, there is one more small nugget I'd like to go over before going back into Warp Drive here. So remember this merchant we skipped over? Now that we have 200 Jade, we're going to go ahead and cash it in, and let's see what exactly we got. If you remember back, you'll probably know. So there he goes, he's going to disappear, and what did we get? We got a heart piece. No, it's not quite like in Zelda, you don't really have heart containers, but it is going to increase your overall life capacity. And now that you have a higher life total, you can go back to the temple again and get your life fully restored. Honestly, I probably should have got the heart piece first, then gone and restored my health. Would have been one less trip here, but whatever, it is what it is, as I always like to say. Okay, so that's going to do it for the town of Hujia for now. We cannot go any further. We can't get the bombs for going over the pass until we get the dynamite from the storehouse. So we're going to go ahead and leave this town one more time, and we're going to try to head for the bottom right. Actually, we're going to make a mistake and go for the top right because we weren't thinking. So this is going to be a little bit more of just leveling out on the field. You don't need to see this. Trust me, I'm not going to die. So we will bypass this, and we will see you when we are ready to get to the entrance of the storehouse in the bottom right portion of that map right there. So we'll see you then. Okay, finally, sorry about the error, but not checking the map. We are finally ready to enter the storehouse. And remember, what we are looking for is a package of dynamite so we can build the bombs to go over the pass and enter into level number 2, so to speak. All right, now we need a key to access that door. Ooh, we got some scorpions in here. And yes, scorpions are typically bad news, but thankfully we are at the correct level to go in here. Always remember you want to be at level 4 or higher if you want to have an easy time with this. Armor energy is going to make our armor and our defenses much, much better, certainly for this particular dungeon. So that's a very good pickup to get. And now that we have that, we should feel very confident and safe about getting through to the end of this dungeon, and particularly when it comes to the boss. All right, now we have 2 new enemies we haven't seen yet. Headless horseman looking knight things, spears, so to speak. Yeah, not too difficult. Just make sure you get out of the way quickly after hitting them because they have a nasty tendency to counter with a slashing strike in a stationary position right there. Or maybe you don't care, just stand there anyway. You're going to have plenty of hearts just like you saw right there. And there's a key. Remember way back at the start of this level we had a locked door? Well, that's what the key is for. So we enter this new room, plenty more scorpions to kill, which are great for leveling. A few more moth enemies we've just encountered for the first time in this dungeon, so take them out. They're not too difficult. They just drop poisonous pollen. Those things up at the top, the lanterns that drop fire or oil, they cannot be killed. And there's a potion. You haven't seen any potions yet in this game. You could have gotten one from the store, but we have one here. Basically, it refills a portion of your life. In this case, 100 HP. Very nice to have. If you can get one, hold on to it until you absolutely need to. If you have the Jade, absolutely spend it to get a couple extras, because remember, if you die even one time, the challenge is over. So we're certainly going to hold on to that until we absolutely have to use it. All right, now we're going to try to move forward. We're just going to level up a little bit, kill some of these scorpions. We're at level 5, by the way, which is going to make our attack power even nicer and better and make us even less susceptible, rather, to taking damage. As we continue to move forward here, we will be approaching this dungeon's boss, and if you've taken note of some of the enemies here, you might have an idea of what type of boss this is. A few more headless knights here with spears. Let's go through. We're going to use the key, and what do we got in here? A couple more enemies, bugs, moths, nothing we haven't seen before, and at this point at level 5, we should be very well equipped and capable to take them out. Now the only question is, will we get any more treasure chests on the way? Not in this room. Alright, so let's keep on continuing on, moving on forward, and ooh, look at that life bar for an enemy. What could it possibly be? Holy Lord, I'm not going to lie, the first time I saw this thing, I kind of freaked out a little bit. So this is a massive scorpion boss called Persia, or Porcia, however you want to pronounce it. As you can see, if it stings you or slaps you with its tail, it's going to be bad news, and the way you hit it and destroy it is pretty easy. When you hit it, it will dash straight at you. The key with this boss, and many other enemies for that matter, as I've already said, is to not be on the same plane as it. So hit it quickly, get off the plane, hit it again, repeat, boom, gone. This is not a very difficult boss if you keep that strategy in mind. So congratulations, we have just taken down Persia, and we are done with this dungeon. The only thing left to do is collect the hearts and refill our life if we need to, which is kind of a joke right now. So we will collect what we need, go through the door, and we are just about ready to get the dynamite, which should be in this room. By the way, 200 jade, which will be very useful for purchasing stuff from stores. And there's our dynamite. So that's exactly what we need to go back to the town of Hujia and craft some bombs at the store of Tylon. So we're in very, very good shape right now. All we have to do is go back out the way we came in, backtrack all the way to Hujia, and we can go ahead and buy those bombs from the store of Tylon. So, not much else to see here, just a lot of backtracking. We will see you back in Hujia. Okay, we finally made our way back to Hujia after all that backtracking and a little bit of leveling. By the way, we're at level 6 right now, which is kind of nice. Really good shape. Alright, we're going all the way back to Tylon's store, and we have the dynamite in tow, so we're going to go back and talk to him, and he'll say to come back later, and we will get the bombs from him. So we're just going to walk around for a little bit, do a little bit of exploration. There's nothing that you necessarily have to do in here. I suppose you could go to the shop that we kind of ignored, and you could buy a potion, you could buy some arrows, some other stuff. Well, really, whatever you want to do is fine. Oh, by the way, we got the level 2 map, so that's great. We will need that to actually explore level 2, which, by the way, is considerably larger and more dangerous than the first level, so we are going to definitely want to have that map when we go into it. So here's the store, and like I said, the things that we talked about, get them if you want. The only thing that you really might want to consider getting at all is the blue potion. That is, of course, the health potion. I'm going to pick up a few arrows for eventually when I do acquire the bow, because the bow is useless without arrows, so maybe it'd be nice to buy a couple. I'm going to buy a potion. Again, you can never have too little potions or too few of them, especially when if you die even one time, the challenge is over. So I don't think it's a bad investment to buy at least one potion. And even still, we've got well over 200 jade left over. All right, now we should have killed enough time. We're going to go back to Tylon's shop, and we should be able to get the bombs. Yes, on the far left table. He will tell us to go over there and grab them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Now that we have the bombs, we can head up to that pass area, which we accidentally went to the first time when we were looking for the storehouse. And we will be able to proceed over the pass to the next part of the game, which is level 2. So let's go ahead and leave the town of Hujia, and we'll talk for a little bit as we do some exploration and walking straight toward that mountain pass. So we've already talked about a lot of the random battles here. We've talked about leveling up, and keep in mind, once again, by the time you get to this mountain pass area, you should be at a minimum of level 6. Could you do it before that? Yeah, you could, but by being at level 6, you're assuring yourself that there's no way in the world that you're possibly going to die or be in serious danger of dying. So just follow the information here, follow the path, just go straight up to the right, You may get some random battles and encounters, but at this point, every enemy you face should be an absolute joke. Only the 3 enemies, the beetle, the reptile, and the scorpion. They're pretty simplistic, and guess what? Even when you get into the start of level 2, it's going to be more of the same in the overworld. So there's no reason you can't take these enemies and these bosses, well, not bosses, but these enemies on here. They do very, very simple, minimal damage. Not a whole lot to speak of. Now we're very close to getting to the mountain pass here. I believe it's right up here. We're going to ignore some of this. Yes, here we go. Straight up ahead, here's the tunnel. Going to lead to the mountain pass. It's going to say as much here. And here we go as the transition occurs. Yes, Gallus Pass. And I'll go up the steps. You're going to have a new enemy type we haven't seen yet. Well, technically we have, but it's a different color. It's a purple or a pink butterfly. Yeah, nice enemy, right? I'm so afraid. Don't go this way. You're going to come up. You're going to basically zigzag and snake your way up this mountain pass. Move up over to the right. Take out the enemies as you can because they will provide significant experience on the way to level 7. And there are no major enemies up here besides the pink moths. There are no bosses on this mountain pass. So there's not a whole lot to worry about besides potentially falling in holes. You will need to jump over these gaps from time to time and occasion. Honestly, it may be useful to even consider using the house weapon just for the fact that you can fire it over the gaps. Now you're going to have some falling rocks here. Here's where you use the bomb. Drop it down. That's the only time you have to use the bomb in the entire encounter. And whoops, that was a mistake. Don't worry, you don't die, you just lose a little bit of health. Yeah, figure that out. You fall down a hole, potentially killing yourself, but you just lose a bit of your health. Kind of reminds me of if you ever played Mystical Ninja on the N64, you can jump off of Mount Fuji, like totally jump off the peak. Yes, I know I'm digressing. Go all the way down to the bottom and take 1 little heart of damage, if I remember correctly. In fact, you may not get hurt at all. But anyway, getting back on track here, we've gone over the pass, and before you do that, you probably noticed as we go through this game, there are some trees. You can actually hit these trees and they will drop apples. Those apples can actually be used as currency and trading barter. Do not be tempted to use and eat them, just hold on to them, hang on. They will come in handy later in the game. To be truthful, I don't know if we're going to actually need them for levels 2 or 3. I haven't gotten that far yet, but we will find out as we get there. But from what I understand, those apples can certainly be used later in the game for trading purposes. Now we're going to continue moving on down the mountain pass. We are almost over, and we're not going to quite leave the mountain just yet because there is another heart container and heart addition we can get, I should say, that will increase our life capacity, much like the one that we purchased back in the town of Fujiya. And we're going to get it through that little corridor cave here, so we're just going to walk inside once we know it's safe. I believe it is. There's nothing over to the left except for a pink-purple butterfly moth enemy, so we can take it out. There are no apples up there, not that it really matters that much. We're going to continue heading over to the right, and we will finally go into this little cave, and we will get ready to exit this mountain pass. But before we do that, there is the heart container increase. And what's going to happen is if you back up over to the left, yes, we know our HP is increased. This walkway, this passageway will open, and you can jump across it if you're careful. There's really nothing to do or see over here, though. You could go through this corridor, down some steps. You'll have a room with a whole bunch of scorpions. I guess this might be nice for leveling yourself up if you're not quite at level 6 or 7 yet. And you should absolutely be at level 6 by now. We're very close to 7. We're not going to worry about killing any more of these enemies. We'll get the last couple that we need in the overworld of level 2 as we exit this mountain pass. So at this point, we're just going to back up completely. Oh, by the way, I want to show you this. If you go out here, it'll take you back to the other side of the mountain pass where we were when we first entered. We don't want to be there. It's just a shortcut to backtrack if you really want to go back to the town of Fujiya for some reason. Maybe you missed the heart container piece. Who knows? But it's there if you want to backtrack quickly. So we're going to backtrack all the way this way to the far left outside of this cave temple entrance. And then we are going to go far over to the left, and there is a stairway that leads down and off the other side of the mountain pass. And from here, we will be at the entrance to level 2. So if you're looking at the challenge card, we have just completed the novice challenge. That really wasn't that bad, honestly. Level 2 will get considerably more difficult because it is much more wide open. As you can hear, the music has changed. The enemies will get tougher, not on the overworld at least, not now anyway. Trust me, the time is coming. For right now, we're not going to worry too much about exploration. The only thing we want to worry about doing is getting to the nearest town so we can save and we'll call it good for this part of our journey. So the way we're going to get there is we're just going to follow the main path. Don't stray from it. I'm going to bring up the map here. Just follow the path. And here it is right here. So we're going to go to the second town. Just stay straight on the path. Don't go right. Don't go left. Stay straight. Eventually you'll come to another fork. You'll see how it goes. Very, very simple. Continue on straight here. Don't go right there. Continue on, continuing on. Just stay on the path unless you know exactly where you're going. Fight a few random battles if you need to, but at this point, if you're level 6, there's no reason to worry about wasting time power leveling because the experience you get will not be worth your time. It's just a big waste of time. So just continue on. You can move past those random encounters. Stay on the path. I'll show you where it gets tricky, if you want to call it that. Right here is the fork. Take the right fork. This will lead you to the next town, and then you can go ahead, go to the nearest temple, refill your life if necessary, and save your game. And here we go. We're just going to walk in and see what it has to offer. Well, I can tell you right now, it doesn't have a whole lot to offer. The only thing we need to do, well, two things. Number one, we need to save, refill your life if necessary, which fortunately we don't right now. So we'll find a temple, we'll save, and then we're going to get the next part of the map that we'll need, which will eventually be for level 3, I believe, or for a later section in level 2. But in any event, we will do those two things, then we're going to go ahead and save our game, and we'll call this part of the journey and the challenge complete. So, the only thing you're going to do right now, just keep going over to the right. You can talk to the NPCs like I'm doing right now, get some more information on the story. Certainly is a good story. Here's our temple. We're going to walk inside. We're going to talk to the cleric on the right. He's going to refill our health. We will go ahead and save because we will be ending this part of the video very, very soon. And then I will show you where to get the next map, which is necessary for continuing on here. The maps are absolutely crucial for this portion of the game because unlike the first portion, I think I mentioned this before, it is very possible to not only stray off the path, but stray into a completely ridiculously, terribly overpowered area full of enemies and monsters which will slaughter you. So right about here in this level, you absolutely want to stay on the path as much as you possibly can. By the way, here's a shop, nothing you haven't already seen before. You have bombs available now. Remember the woman who was guarding the House of Tylon? Yeah, somehow she works all the way across the mountain pass. She was able to teleport herself over there while you had to fight your way through a pass of monsters. Yeah, figure that one out. Anyway, so here's the next part of the building, and the next part of the town of Casdra you want to go to. So far right side, go into this door, and you will have a person in there to talk to, and basically you're going to skip through everything. They're going to give you this lake map, which will be very critical to have a little bit later. So hang on to it, and really beyond that, it's just a whole lot of talking to NPCs. Buy potions if you want to, but at this point, we've really done everything that we need to do, for now anyways. So we're going to call it good for right now. I'm going to head my way back over to the temple and save it one last time, and we'll call part 1 complete. So thank you guys very much for sticking around and joining me on the journey of Dragonview for part 1. Much appreciated. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video, which will be part 2. Have a good one.